Hey, this is Christopher Nunez. I think this was a interesting assignment because it really made me have to really think about my education, my upbringing, and not a teacher aspect, but as a student. And so it's a good and a bad thing when you kind of go back and you think of your education and how it became of who you are today. I grew up here in San Antonio, Texas. I attended Jefferson High School and SAISD, San Antonio Independent School District, which is the oldest school district here in San Antonio. I grew up knowing that we're probably an average district. We weren't there was a few rich school districts, and we weren't one of them. And I think everybody kind of you figure that out after a while. I think knowing that we knew that we didn't have the newest in technology, we didn't have the newest in maybe textbooks and resources and activities and things that the school was able to provide. Thinking about this though, I do remember that our teachers did kind of incorporate a lot. I think they did a good job of being able to knowing what other school districts and other places and their knowledge they try to bring that learning into the classroom. I do remember doing always lots of things that tied in drawings and posters that related to what we were learning about. I remember learning about fractions, and then we had Hershey's to be able to really tie that in. And so those activities, those kinetic activities, those hands-on activities were there. We learned about the water cycle, and I remember having a hanger of it. I remember me creating the Church of England with my parents, and they helped me out because it was a family project. There's some things I don't remember doing in elementary, like a science fair. I think going back, there was in the district a high culture of Hispanic. It was a Hispanic culture. My school probably was 95 at least percent Hispanic, and so there wasn't a lot of diversity. And within that as well, a lot of my friends and classmates, I can remember they were either English, first generation in America, in the United States, or they were even first generation English language learners because their parents would speak to them in Spanish and they would respond back in Spanish. And so there was things that in that culture of it that you just kind of maybe think about. There wasn't that they didn't want the school have to put that upon a parent to understand maybe those concepts, and especially I can think about that in the science sometimes, which is the most difficult, those terms, and they didn't want to maybe put that on students and the parents to be able to help them with it if they weren't able to. So there was maybe things sometimes I didn't know, but there was things that we didn't do, events that sometimes wouldn't have been able to. We were a Title I campus and as well, so because of that, I think there was times that we weren't able to do certain things because of the financial status of the school, maybe the population at the time. So thinking about technology, I grew up in that technology, the beginning of internet, and the early 2000s I was in middle school, and the internet was coming around, and so were computers. And so in middle school, I remember learning about the basics. Everybody had to learn about the basics of how to use a desktop computer in middle school. And then in high school, I can remember for start technology, learning about more of the basics of Microsoft Word, Office, Microsoft Word, Excel, creating those spreadsheets, and how to do more on that. And so technology being so now an everyday thing, I think I was then fortunate in a way to be able to be a middle school learning about this, because I was already had a foundation of education without technology. And so I think that I was able to learn about technology, and we had it at a good time to be able to know it. But thinking about high school though and technology, but one thing I will say is I felt like I was failed in being able to be prepared for college. I did take pre-calculus and high school my senior year, but when I went to community college, I failed college algebra my first semester. And I think that was an eye-opener, really, when I'm compared to other kids and around the San Antonio area, and I really got to see that my high school maybe didn't prepare me as well. Maybe there wasn't the resources, or maybe there wasn't technology, or maybe there wasn't the teachers to be able to fully encompass everything that teach me everything or teach in general those things that were needed to be successful. I know some students didn't, classmates, a lot of them didn't take that pre-calculus course, and so I always wondered how they would do. But anyways, it's just that was the eye opener when I realized maybe I wasn't the brightest student. I did graduate in the top 10% of my class at number 33, but it seems like that didn't really mean much when I was comparing myself to the San Antonio area. Maybe I was a small fish in a little pond, but now in this big ocean of students from all over the area, I wasn't the smartest as I thought I was. And so therefore it kind of goes back to that idea of what is really required. We talk about what things were we expected to do and how it relates to who I became. That was a topic. So that's who I was. That's who I am. And while back then I wasn't able to really understand it all, I think now, knowing that what I've learned as a student and as a teacher, I'm able to learn who I was, who I am, who I was back then, which wasn't a student who knew how to learn, but I have since then been able to learn who I am, how I learn, and how to be successful, what it takes. A lot of it is just pure hard work from me. I don't ever feel like I am the smartest now. I just learned that I work hard, and that's how I get where I am. And that's how I formed my education up until this point in time. And that's me, Christopher Nunez.